The learning daily Nishmas at Ahuva Basaka Masechus Erchin Perek Beis Mishna Aleph. So just to review the psukim, the erech we said is kotza batayr. So if someone says erech ploini alais, if the person is 30 days to 5 years old, if it's a zachar it's 5 shkalim, if it's a nekeva it's 3 shkalim. If he's between 5 and 20 years old, so for a zachar is 20 shkalim, for a nekeva is half of that, 10 shkalim. If it's between 20 and 60 years old, for a zachar is 50 shkalim, that's the highest, like the Mishnah is going to say. And for a nekeva is 30 shkalim. And once you're 60 years and older, for a zachar goes down all the way till 15 shkalim, and to a nekeva it goes down to 10 shkalim. But the pasuk says at the end that if a person can't afford it, then all he gives is a sela. So on that, the parak starts off, Ein be'erichin pachas me sela, you're at least going to have to give a sela, even an ani. V'lo yasar al chamishim sela, and the most is going to be for a between 20 and 60 years old for a zachar is 50 sela. Ketzad nosan sela v'hesher in the noisin klum. Once you were poor and you already gave your sela, that's it. Now that you become rich, you don't have to give anymore. But pachas me sela, if you gave less than a sela, so that's like giving nothing. So v'hesher, now that you're rich, noisin chamishim sela, you would have to give 50 sela. Let's say he's 20 years old, so be'etzem he's supposed to give 50 sela, and he only has 5 sela. So Rameir Omer einu noisin ela achas. Like the Gemara explains, my time in the Rameir, it says ksiv chamishim v'ksiv shekel. It's oy chamishim if you could afford 50, and if you can't afford 50 because you only have 5, so then all you have to give is a sela. No, you have to give whatever you have. Because the pasuk says, the Gemara says, Asher tasig yad hanoider, very yodoi maseges, he could afford it. So he has to give whatever he could afford. So if he could afford 5, he has to give 5. The Mishnah again says the same words that the parak started with, Ein be'erichin pachas meisela, v'lo yasar chamisha meisela. The Gemara says, Hasul lamali, why are we saying this again? Because we're saying it for the diak, that pachas meisela hudaleka, hayasar al sela ika, that you could have a case that you're going to give more than a sela and less than 50. In this case, if he has 5, he can only afford 5, you would pay 5, and the Mishnah is being soisem kirabanan. Now the rest of the parak, once we said in pachas meisela v'lo yasar chamishim sela, we bring this idea by other sugyas in Shas. So the first one is by nida. In pesach betoya pachas meishiva v'lo yasar al shiva asar. If a nida is not sure if she's b'mei nida or b'mei ziva, what's Yemei Nida and Yemei Ziva? So if a Isha sees Dam, Nida, so she's Tamei for 7 days, but even if she would see Kol Zayin, and she would stop before the end of Zayin, then she could be Toivel that day. That's called Yemei Nidusa. But from day 8 and onwards, for 11 days, it's called Yemei Ziva. During those 11 days, if she sees once or twice, so she only has to keep 1 day, Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom, and she's Toivel and she's Tar. But if she would see 3 days Ritzufim during those days, then she would need Shiva Nikiyam and a carbon. Let's say she doesn't see at all during these 11 days, so then after the 11 days, goes back to Yemei Nidin. If again, it starts over the cycle like we started. Now this Isha sees Dam, let's just say once, but the Gemara and the Brisa goes through seeing once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 times. But let's say she just sees once, so then after 17 days, she's going to be tar memanavshah. Whether she's not sure that Re'iyah was a Yemei Nida or it was Yemei Ziva, basically the worst case scenario was it was Yemei Nida, so then and on day 8 would begin her Zayin Nikiyim, her Yemei Ziva, and after 11 days, plus the first 7 Yemei Nida, which is 17 days besides the first day of Re'iyah, really it's 18 days, then she would go back to Yemei Nida cycle. The case that she would only have to wait 7 days would be in a case where she says that she saw for 13 days. So then, even if the first 2 Re'iyas were the end of her Yemei Ziva, and then she saw another 7 days straight, let's say, of Nida, so now day number 10, again, is going back to Yemei Ziva, and she sees for 4 days, so then she waits Zayin Nikiyim, and at the end of that, so all will be Zayin Nikiyim, and after Zayin Nikiyim, we'll go back to her Yemei Nida. The Mishnah continues, Ein minigam pachas me'shavua echad v'lo yetzer al shloisha shavuos. The Gemara explains that by a nigei adam, sometimes after 1 day, it's chalut either l'tayra l'tuma, and by nigei batim, we find sometimes, Rashi brings the Teres Kainim, that you have to wait even after the first 2 weeks, your chayletz kaitzav v'tach on the house, and then you have to wait in the third week, and then the kohen comes. Mishna Beis ein pochsem me'arba chadashim ubarim b'shana v'loy nira yeser al shmoina. So we know that the lunar calendar is 29 and a half days plus 2/3 of an hour and another 73 chalakim, and if it was exactly 29 and a half days, so then you could just make a 1 month 30, next day 29, next month, so 6 months of 30 and 6 months of 29, and then it will come out to exactly 29 and a half. But because of that extra 2/3 of an hour and 73 chalakim, it's going to come out that sometimes you need to have more. So therefore it could be up until 8 mu'uber months in 1 year in order to make it work. The Mishnah continues, Shtei alechem nechalos ein pachas mishnayim v'lo yeser al shalish. The Shtei alechem, if Yom Tif, meaning if Shavuos falls out on a Sunday, so then you can't bake it on Shavuos because you can't bake it on Yom Tif. You can't bake it on Shabbos, which is Erev Yom Tif, so you have to bake it on Erev Shabbos. It's only going to be eaten on Shavuos, which is the third day. Lechem apanim nechal in pachos meitisha v'lo yeser alechem also. Normally it's 9 days because you bake it on Erev Shabbos and you eat it the next Shabbos. But if Rosh Hashanah falls out on Thursday and Friday, so it's only going to be baked on Wednesday, so that's an additional 2 days, then it won't be eaten until the 11th day. And lastly, katan namal in pachos meishayna v'lo yeser al shnei matzah. Normally the bris is on the 8th day, but if the baby is born bein hashmashos on Erev Shabbos, so it's only going to get a bris on the 9th day. And if that 9th day winds up being the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, so then the 10th and 11th are out also, it's only going to get a bris on the 12th day from when it was born.